However, Izumi did see this interesting book by Yao Lin for $79.99 into swimming lessons. However, all of you that, spoiler, big spoiler, but he's actually never read, so didn't work. But so furious was he by being ripped off by those awful swimming lesson book that Izumi decided to go on the rampage. And first target of this rampage was the eastern military wing where Roy used to work, but was mostly inhabited by Ishbalans at this point.
And so Scar comes on the scene. And so he's walking around and he's like, "Where is Edward Elric? I must destroy him." So he goes to Central and he finds Edward trying to learn how to swim. So he's like, "Okay, I will drop him in the pool then, rather than exploding his brains everywhere, because that's getting cliche." So he tries to find a way in, so he decides to also be taking the swimming lessons. So he gets in there, and nobody recognizes him for some reason. So he's just in there and wandering around, and he finds Armstrong keep on throwing on Edward out there to try and teach him how to swim, but it's not really helping.
Switch. Then he notices that Winry's next to the pool and is tanning, and he thinks she looks so hot. So he just swoons the way he sees her, and he starts to take pictures. So then she smacks him, and she also notices Ed's still trying to learn. So she decides to give him another chance. So she gets into the pool and comes up with some more methods for him. And Ed also thinks she looks really hot. So he has trouble listening to her. Switch.
Risa enters the scene and pulls Ed out by his hair and drags him over to a different pool. And then, the kiddie pool, saying that he's short to be in the deep end, which he yells at her too. And then she teaches him how to swim by throwing her dog into the pool with him and saying, "Learn from that, copy that movement," just to start him out. So therefore, Ed, trying to do the dog pal, still sings. And so, someone else, Hughes comes over and says, "Oh look, kiddie pool, I should bring my daughter here. Does anybody want to see a picture?" Okay, so yes, he leaves and goes and gets his daughter, and everybody loves Alicia, and they're so happy to see her. But Ed still can't swim, and he's starting to get really frustrated. Well, so he transmutes the water in the kiddie pool into pudding. Chocolate pudding. Maybe if someone eats the pudding in the pool, he won't have to learn how to swim. Maybe he transports hot water.
Of course, turning pools into pudding is actually the third forbidden law of alchemy, which and so by odds almost spider sense, a woman wearing dreadlocks appeared immediately behind him and smacked Edward into the next wall.
The dreadlock lady was, of course, Izumi Sensei. And Ed was like, "No, why are you here? I didn't know pudding was a forbidden law. I'm sorry." And she's like, "It is still unforgivable. You should know these things. Didn't I teach you anything?" And it's just like, "I'm sorry, I didn't know." And then Scar comes along, and he's like,
And he really thinks that Izumi looks like crap with those dreadlocks, so he gets a razor blade and shaves her head. And he's a huge Sinead O'Connor fan, so he thinks she looks gorgeous that way. And so then he decides, instead of killing Ed, why don't I try to teach him to swim, since it's so hard to do it. It would just make it hard on him, and he'd wish he was dead. So he decides to teach him. But Ed actually gets really good because he gets so much strength in the rest of his body. He learns how to swim, and he turns out to almost be good enough to give Mark Spitz a run for his money. The end.